budgets. I want to raise just a few things from my experience of working with budgets rather than anything more abstract. The first thing about it is, we are a federal country. There is no such thing as the budget. There are lots of budgets. The budget of the union government, the budget of states, and so on. So what questions do we ask of which? I think in the union budget, you should talk about things that the union government is responsible for. Foreign affairs, do they run embassies properly, defense, and so on. But a lot of us in civil society ask questions in the union budget of, do you do something for health, for education, and so on, which is only partly their business. And these are the subjects in the state list or the concurrent list and so on, they're partly their business. So we could ask whether do you help states to do what they want to do, but are we asking the right question? I think we make both type 1 and type 2 errors. We're asking the wrong question when it comes to say health. It's not really the GOI's business. But we're not asking the important questions. In the last budget, I think it was over 100,000 crores for defense. There's one line in the budget. And there are lots of people who come on TV and say China is spending more and Pakistan is spending more and we're not spending enough. And the net result of it is it's all passed. There's very discussion where is 100,000 crores. But then there's 60,000 crores as a support to farmers, and say enormous amount of 60,000 crores has been wasted. So are we asking some of the right questions in the budget analysis? If we are interested in the social sector, then we should interrogate the state governments. And I'll take a few examples out of Karnataka for this. We've looked at, for example, health in Karnataka. And from 2000 to now, the percentage of expenditure on health as a percentage of either the state domestic income or of total expenditure has come down. It was about 1.1% and 0.9% now. Of course, the state has grown during this meantime, the absolute numbers are larger, but as a percentage it's, and this is the amount that not just the state spend, but all the central schemes and everything that the GOI decides to put downwards through what Neera called the central schemes, centrally sponsored schemes and so on. Now, we took this up because Karnataka is a successful case of structural adjustment following the whole World Bank model and so on. And the explicit purpose for taking up that program was to say that not only would health and education be protected, but actually increased if we control the fiscal deficit. Well, we control the fiscal deficit, but we did it this way. Now, what do budget groups do in this situation? This is a clear result of research. What do we do? When we actually went in to see what is happening, say in health in Karnataka, we find interesting situation. The way the budget is organized, even this 0.9% has two elements, which is medical and public health and something called medical education. Now medical education is all these colleges and so on. If you take that out, then medical and public health comes to below 0.6%. So these are other, okay, then you look at what happens in this 6%. The key programs, immunization, reproductive health and so on are central schemes. And because the money is coming from the center, the state says we don't have to spend money on this. There you go. So it's an easy way to cut down your commitment to the health sector by saying, oh well, the center is giving this money, we'll implement their scheme and that's it. So when you then look at what the state spends on health, it is the salary of the people in the health department. Outside of that, there's value. Whatever little comes up is the central contribution into health. What does civil society do with this? Okay, let us try to see how it actually works when it goes down. This has been passed on to the Zilla Panchayat. It's true in the sense that there's a Zilla Panchayat account, so all the money goes into that account. But there's no discussion in the elected body. There is the chief executive officer locally in charge. And there is the whole line department hierarchy which implements these schemes. And yet we get away by saying that these are decentralized, the Zilla Panchayat is responsible, it is doing what it is supposed to do. And once you go below the district, it is impossible to trace money at all. You are told that there is a health center, it should get 1 lakh of rupees worth of drugs. Now, there is no money, there is no account for a health center. So it comes down in kind. So how are you actually going to deal with this? You look for simpler things, saying that is there a doctor in the health center? Now the governments are smarter than us. So there are doctors who are posted to 5 health centers. So positions are not vacant. There is an additional charge. The doctor can go to one health center a week. Civil society finds that 4 health centers have no doctors. We make a lot of noise, but what does the doctor do? So there are a lot of these kind of questions. So I would like to say that we fail to take into account the federal nature of this country at one level. And secondly, the federal nature has been imperfectly implemented because at the local level there are no budgets at all. There are hardly any accounts. By budget I mean the full process, formulation, approval by elected body, implementation, monitoring, audit. There is no such thing. Even audit is a bit of a joke because I looked at a lot of these audit reports which are some kind of agreement between the auditor and the panchayat functionary, and which are written and filed, and then nothing else happens. So we have no idea about the validity of the accounts. The second point I want to make about budgets is that they are sort of complex animals. You know, after studying in the Delhi School of Economics, I thought I'd understand budgets. But no, the economics of it